1983. And I was about to start hairdressing college. Day release. Quite the thing for somebody who wanted to be a hairdresser. As I look back, I just think, how did I do it? But sometimes when we are young, we have to go through so many different avenues, pathways in our life to find who we are. And I have this flair about me. I have this design side to me. And I wanted to be a hairdresser. So off I went after a few failed jobs and not lasting no more than 2 or 3 days. I found a place not far away and they gave me a chance. But it had to be day release to the college. And I was apprehensive. I suppose I've always been a bit of an empath. And it was a lovely sunny spring morning and I went into the college and there was all these strange kids hanging around. Some of them looked quite goth-like. The girls who were there seemed very snobbish and I didn't seem to gel really with them. I've always been a bit like that. I've always felt as if I've never been able to fit in with my age group. So I hung around with a guy called Tim and we got friendly. A bit too friendly, to be perfectly frank. 17 and wanting the world, wanting to conquer the world. And I was very naive, very, very naive. And Tim was different. Tim wasn't like the boys that I'd grown up with. He wore makeup. He was very punk-like. And he smoked. And I found him fascinating. And he invited us to go to a club, and obviously I wasn't allowed to go to clubs. So this particular night I decided to go to a friend's, pretend I was staying at a friend's, got ready there. And I had to put the eyeliner on and the makeup on to make myself look older. And I met him in town. We went to the Hippie Green and then we went to a club. And this was not like a club that I'd ever known, what I'd never imagined. It was dark, it was dingy, it was underground. But boy, was it good. And I got drunk on cider. Cider was the in drink, snake bite and cider. And the place was rocking. As we went in, it was it Blue Monday? It was Blasting Blue Monday by New Order. And I come to realise that when I was in this club, that there was boys kissing boys and there was girls kissing girls, and I realised I was in a gay bar. But I wasn't bothered. I was just so happy. Yeah. And me and Tim became really close. I wasn't so keen on his friends, but we used to have real fun in the college. We used to mess around with the mannequins when we're supposed to be doing stuff to hair. And Tim cut my hair. When I went to the college, my hair was long, dark, with a fringe. And I wanted to be like the rest. So the sides came off, the shaved Mohican, the pink Mohican I had. Fuchsia pink it was. And I thought I was the bee's knees. But it wasn't really me, but I was just trying to fit in. So we used to meet up every Saturday. We used to meet up at the Happy Green, and we became really, really close. Tim had a lot of gay friends, but I was under the impression that he wasn't that way because there was a lot of flirting going on. And we kissed, and it was my first kiss, and he wasn't the really type of lad that I thought that I would go out with. I didn't have the flutters in the chest, but we were close. We would talk a lot. We would stay overnight together. I would go to his. He had a loft bedroom. His mum was a real hippie type of woman. And it was good, you know. We never did it, but we became very close. And we used to lie on the bed. He had a window in the loft, his bedroom was in the loft. It was so cool. He could do what he wanted. And my house was so strict, you know. I used to love going there. And we would lie and look at the clouds and read the clouds. Little did we know then that we were scrying. Tim to this day is also very psychic, but he's a hairdresser. Obviously, I didn't carry on with the hairdressing. But anyway, we were lying and we would read the clouds, and then strange things would happen. And then we realised that we were actually scrying into the clouds. We were prophesying. It was so cool, you know. And we would hang out with friends and do these tricks, you know, and show other friends. And it was great. And he had runes, and he would read me. And then he taught me how to do the runes. Obviously that from a young girl that I've been able to read because it's in the family. So I would read his palm. And he used to call us Gypsy Girl. And we had this sort of funky friendship. Boyfriend, girlfriend, but just a sweet sort of friendship with just kissing. But to me, it was like it was the first grown-up sort of I'm in a relationship, you know, I've got a boyfriend. And me and Tim were quite a pair. We were very flamboyant together. So this particular night, we were at the gay bar, and I just knew something was right. Tim was very, very snappy. I just felt he wasn't asking us to come round so much. And it was hurting us, and all the queens were there, and it was I'm Coming Out by Diana Ross. They're all dancing around, and I went to the ladies, and I come back, and I looked over, and I caught Tim kissing somebody, and it was a lad, and I was absolutely devastated. It was as if the whole world had been, you know, I was young. My whole world had been tipped upside down. And the boy that he was with, the lad he was with, he called us a bitch and said, well, did you not know he was? And I realised then that the friendship between me and Tim was destroyed, and I ran out to the bar. I was really, really upset. As I came out of the bar, there was other bars in Newcastle, and I headed towards the taxi rank to go home, and I noticed that there was a really posh wine bar where different type of people went. You know, it wasn't a gay bar, and there was an argument at the taxi, and there was a well-known sort of group of men what ran Newcastle. I'm not going to say names, I'm going to change names. But these were like gangsters, you know, and they were arguing at a bus stop. He was with this woman, and they were a lot older than me. They were they were 21, I'm 17. Oh, he was 20 actually. They were in their early 20s. And he was with this blonde, and they were arguing, and there'd been a bit of a punch up with this other guy. And then he went to get into the taxi, And because I was running, I knocked the girl with the blonde hair who he was with, and I says, oh, I'm sorry. And she tutted and gave us this like bitchy look. And I turned and I looked at this guy, this gangster, who was very well known, and he smiled at us, and she says, get in the taxi now. And I just looked at him and I thought, why did I feel like that? Why did I feel like my whole life just stood still? It was the most extraordinary feeling that I'd ever had. I was upset. I was in town. My makeup was down. I was crying. Because he said to us, are you all right, kiddo? Are you all right, kiddo? And I says, I'm fine. And I said, I'm sorry to the woman he was with. So he bundled her into the taxi, and she looked really annoyed because he took notice of us. And then I ended up getting another taxi and I went home. But I couldn't get this guy out of my head, and I was really annoyed with Tim. So the next time I had gone into hairdressing college, me and Tim didn't speak again. And it was pretty awful, actually. But I carried on with my hairdressing, and the best of it was only like once a week, twice a week, because the rest of the time I was in the salon. But I couldn't get this guy out of my head, and I knew that I had to go back to town. I knew I did. I wasn't old enough, you know. I'd been to town, I'd been to the gay bar, but I wanted to go to the posh wine bars. I wanted to go there. So with my two friends, we decided that we're going to get done up, and we were going to go, and we were going to pretend that tell our mums and dads that we were staying somewhere else. And we did it. And we went to the posh wine bars, and I felt really grown up. Now, I actually got ready from home, and I said that I was going out to a friend's birthday party, so they knew what I was wearing, and I wasn't dressed in my typical rah-rah skirt or my gothy clothes. I was dressed really smart. I had a glitter jacket on, I had my hair done, and I was growing my spike out, and I put a bow in my hair, and I looked really cool, and we had our glitz on, and off we went to town. And we were posing in this wine bar, and it just felt different. It felt like I was becoming more me. And I was sitting there posing with my drink, and lo and behold, in he walks. And my friends are going, oh my God, it's him, he's over there. And if you could just picture this, you know, we're in this posh wine bar and lots of people were coming in. And he's seen us. And he came over to us and, hi, how are you doing? You look a lot better than you did the last time. And I felt like the whole world had just stood still. And we went to the ladies. My friend pushed after the lady. She says, oh my God, we're going to have to go home. No, this is too dangerous. And I says, no, I'm staying. And she says, well, I'm going to go home, aren't we, Jill? And Jill looked at me and then looked at my friend, and she said, no. She says, we'll stay a bit longer for Louise. So we stayed a bit longer. But then these bunch of women came in, and he was standing with his friends, and this woman was all over him, and I was so upset. So my friends took us out of the bar, and we went the side door. You're talking back when smoking was going on in the wine bars, you know, and the side door was open where the bouncers were, so they took us out that way, and I was really upset. And he came running out, and he goes, are you all right, kiddo? I didn't want to be a kiddo. And I goes, I'm fine. And he like shook his head and went back in. And I left it for a few weeks, and I thought, this is, I've got to go back again. And my friend's saying, I'll go with you. The other friend didn't want to go. So we went back again. And we went to this other place. It was the most extraordinary extraordinary place. It was it had turtles. It had turtles in this nightclub in a pond, and there was go-go dancers. It was all very far out, dancing in cages and stuff like that. And I'm standing there, and I just felt really, really grown up. And I remember Spandau Ballet Gold came on, and in he walked again. And it was back when you go into nightclubs at the time, it's like you had to be dressed up. Nobody could go in with jeans on, and he was all dressed up. He had a suit on. And this time he came over to us, and he says, would you like a drink? And I said, yeah, I'll have a drink. And I had a Blue Lagoon. I'll never forget it. I had a Blue Lagoon, and I was feeling really grown up. I had high heels on. I was sat at the bar, and there was umbrellas and everything, and folderols and cherry sticks and in this drink. And my friend was getting off with his friend, and I thought, oh my God, this is amazing. And we just clicked. But I knew that he was a lot older than us, and I just thought, but he never once said kiddo. And then he went, how old are you? And I says, 18. 18? He goes, well, nearly 18. In a few months, I'm 18. And he was just like laughing. And we went for a burger after the club, and he lived in town in this amazing loft apartment. And we went back, and just me and him, we went back. And I remember going to the fridge, and I said, have you got any food? And I opened the fridge, and there was one egg in the fridge. And I laughed. I says, right, I just got one egg in the fridge. He says, I don't eat much. He says, I need to get some more eggs. I says, what do you mean you need to get some more eggs? And he says, well, I drink them every morning, raw eggs. I go to the gym. And he was all muscly and that. And I says, okay. And he says, we'll get a takeaway, kiddo. And I says, stop calling us kiddo. And he goes, all right, babe, I'll call you babe. And from that day on, he called us babe. And I'm going to call him Terry. Okay, I'm changing the names for personal reasons, to protect people. But Terry. And we became quite an item, but it was secret. And I used to get really annoyed. We used to go out and we used to meet, and then them other women would turn up, and they would like put up their arms around him, and then this particular night I lost the plot, and I walked out of the club, and then he came after us, and he says, look, come back in. And he says, well, you are my girlfriend. And he told them that I was that girlfriend, and they were like laughing and that. And he punched one of them, actually, one of the lads. And then from then on, I was his girlfriend. And my whole life became overnight from being dumped from a gay man, where I felt like I lost my best friend, to now I was in this relationship with this gangster. But this gangster wasn't a gangster to me. He was gentle, he was kind. But you're talking gangland, you're talking running Newcastle gangland. But he was a gentle giant. He was what everybody turned to. He protected people. And it was my life. And we fell in love. And I just feel from that night when he came out and said that this is my girlfriend, I seen another side to him. I seen a side of vulnerability. I seen a side how a big, hard man could become so gentle and so protective, like a big daddy bear. But his lifestyle was ducking and diving. And it was a dangerous lifestyle. You know, there would be times he would get hurt. And I felt that we were drifting apart. But it was the love that kept us together. It was the love. There was a particular night that we had gone out to a party, and the party, he said that he had to leave, he had to go and do business, and he left us with other lads' girlfriends, and they went, and I just had this horrible feeling. I didn't want him to go. And I told him, and we had an argument outside in the car park. It was raining, and I pleaded with him, and he says, I'll be back, babe, don't worry, babe, I'll always protect you, I'll always be there for you, babe. And I was crying, and I said, I don't want you to go, I'll never forget it. It was raining hard. It was thundering. But he went, and there was a terrible fight, and something happened to him, and he ended up in hospital, but he survived. And then he promised me after that he would stop doing certain jobs, and that he would get the life that I deserved to protect me and to have us like a princess. He used to call us babe or princess. One of the women who was in love with him, who he walked away from for me, was a nurse. And I was quite jealous of this woman. And I decided then that I wanted to give up hairdressing and do nursing. But I felt this need, I had this flare inside of us. But I also had a caring side, a healing side. I was trying to find myself. I was still a child. 17 going on 18. I was trying to find me. And I applied for the nursing, and I got in. And the shift work was a bit difficult, getting to see him. And we drifted apart. And it was really, really hard. But I never stopped loving him. But then I became angry with him. And then I did my nursing. I went out this particular night, and I knew he was in town, and I decided to go somewhere else. I went to another disco bar not far away from where I lived. And I met up with an old friend, male friend, and I've always been friendly with guys more than women. I do have girlfriends, but I tend to get on better with guys than I do women. And for some unknown strange reason, we ended up together. And through friends, we ended up together and we hit it off. And he was like a friend, and he was saying, there, you don't need to be with this person, you know, he's not treating you well, and da-di-da-di-da, and all of this. And how can I put this? It ended up that I was in a situation where I started to like this other person. What happened to Terry was we did meet back up again, and we decided to make another go of it, and I decided to pull away from this other guy. And the other guy, I'm going to change his name for personal circumstances, but I'm going to call him Ian. And he was a bit of a lad as well, a bit of a gangster type of guy. So I went back and to Terry, and he said, this is the last job. I promise, babe, I'll come back to you. And he left us in the loft, his loft place. And it was about 2-3 o'clock in the morning. There was a knock at the door. And I'll never forget it. Again, it was raining. I opened the door, and his friend was standing there. And he said, I'm sorry, Louise, he's been shot. He's dead. I went, what? He's dead? It was everywhere. It was all over the newspapers. It was everywhere. That night, I curled up in the bed where we laid, and he came to us in a dream. And he said, I love you, babe. I'll always be there for you, princess. I'll always be there. I should have listened to you, princess. I'll always watch your back. It's beautiful over here. There was a blur. And I don't know how I got through the next 6 months, but it was just such a blur. And even to this day, it'll come in dreams. Even to this day. But I went back to my friend and Ian. But it wasn't the same. But we were friends. Do you understand? Is there such thing as friends with benefits? But then this particular day, I started to feel unwell. And very unwell. And I did a test, and I found out I was pregnant. I was pregnant with my friend. And I didn't know what to do. And I couldn't face Mum and Dad. I actually told them over the phone. My dad hit the roof. And I decided then I'm going to keep my baby. I always remember the song, you know, Madonna. Papa, don't preach. I'm in trouble here. Papa, don't preach. But I just felt this life inside of us, and I thought, I'm keeping my baby. And I told my friend, and he said that he would be there for us. And that's what started off the rest of my story. And I just want to say that when you look back and you look at what could have been, taking a split-second chance, would my life been a lot different? But this is something I'm going to tell you in my story, because where he is now in the spirit world, he's a guardian. And I'm going to tell you in my next chapter of what unfolded going forward, and how somebody can be in the spirit world yet can still be there, very physical. And I believe that he sacrificed himself to be on the other side, to guide me in dangerous situations, which I'm going to talk about in my next chapters. I do know that there's life after life. But my next chapter is going to be about my firstborn in moving forward. But I left hairdressing, guys. I left hairdressing and I became a nurse. And then I became a mother. Until the next chapter. My diary is so deep.